guys, and welcome back to Reading Club. So today I'm going to read you a new book. It's called The Cauldron of Darkness. Time Chronicles, The Cauldron of Darkness. Chapter 1. Then the darkness spoke. The darkness was everywhere, but it was nowhere. It had no voice, yet its thought was at one with every Viren. The thoughts that entered each Viren's dark mind was these. We have been thwarted in our purpose because of the children. Our quests have failed despite our careful planning, despite long preparations. We have not been vigilant enough. We thought the Time Guardians were defeated. We did not allow for Mortlock's cunning. As the darkness hissed the name Mortlock, it was as if an electric shock passed through each Viren everywhere. Inside the vat in the Time-filled laboratory, forks of black lightning crackled and spat, making the vat shake and tremble. Mortlock has regained his strength. Children have become his warriors. He has trained the children to capture us. Each Viren's thought was the same at that moment. But how could children? A device called the Zap Trap. It looks like a steel ball. The children throw it, it opens and emits a pulse. This destabilizes us and returns us to raw matter. But Mortlock has made a fatal error, hissed the darkness. The energy that has been captured in this glass vat had fused together. It is now able to communicate. Each Viren captured by the children adds to our knowledge of them, so we learn more about who they are. The Viren's thoughts will merge together as one. These children must be eliminated. The darkness hissed. They must, but we Virens attack them directly and our Viren natures will be revealed. No, the children must be destroyed the Viren way. Chapter 2. Wilma was woken from a dream by the alarm sounding in a sleep pod. Sleepily, she hit the cancel button and turned over, pulling her duvet over her head. Then a second alarm went off. Wilma sat bolt upright in bed. It was a red alert. The LED in the wall was flashing. Urgent! Report at once to room X. Wilma sprang out of bed and dressed as quickly as she could. An alarm call from Mortlock, especially so early in the day, meant something serious had happened. With the train the latest still untied, she slid down the chute that connected the sleep pods to the control room. Tyler was not there, nor were any of the others. They must be in room X already. Wilma ran through the library and raced along the corridor. Behind her came the sound of running feet. It was Chip. He was stuffing his t-shirt into his jeans as he ran. It must be serious, panted Chip, because Mortlock's never called her red before. And why in room X of all places? Gasped Wilma as she pushed open the heavy doors to the room. Room X was where objects from Magic Key Adventures were on display. The children rarely, if ever, went inside it. The others were there already. Taylor shot a warning glance towards Mortlock, who was standing perfectly still with his eyes closed. He was holding Will's skateboard. Floppy sat at his feet. Then Mortlock took off his glasses and spoke. I could not have asked for braver or more loyal children than you have proved to be, he said. Your courage you have been resourceful and resilient. Your courage has never faltered, but now I cannot expect you to continue. It is wrong of me to put you in so much danger. Because of my stupidity, the Virens know it is you who are capturing them. But how can that be? Said Nina. The dark matter in the vat has been behaving oddly, fizzing, boiling like a strange cauldron of darkness, said Mortlock, and may have become a source of Viren intelligence. I cannot be sure, but I think it may be to communicate. So it sends messages to other Virens, suggested Nadim, like a telepathy. I couldn't have put it better, Nadim, said Mortlock. It's bad news. If the Viren memories in the vat are fused together and can communicate, then all Virens will know exactly who you are. Wolf had an idea. Hang on, whenever we go back in history, we change. Okay, we stay the same inside, but we just look like any other kid at that time. Wolf is right, said Biff. If the Virens become wary of children, it'll be easier for us to spot them. They may act suspiciously whenever children are around. So we're staying on as Time Riders, said Wilma. We'll just have to be extra careful on the missions. Mortlock looked thoughtful. Are you sure? Because if you want to leave the time world now, then I will understand. We're staying, said Kipper. Who else have you got to fight the Virens? Thank Evans, said Tyler. Who would I argue if you lot went? Chapter 3. For a while, things were quiet. From time to time, the children would pop into the control to chat with Tyler, who spent most of his time keeping a watchful eye on the beautiful hologram thrown up by the time web. "'Cause no one else can read it like I can," he would say. And he was right, for something that no one else would have noticed suddenly caught his eye, he pressed the alarm. "It's something new," said Tyler, when the others had gathered around the time warp. "It's not really a spot, more like a fine, very fine grey circle. It's so small you can hardly see it." "I can't make it out," said Biff. "Where is it?" The others peered at the spot where Tyler was pointing. "It's very faint," said Wilf. "Do you think it means anything?" Taylor pressed some keys on the matrix. After a long time, the plasma globe lit up with a faint image. "It's hard to say," said Tyler. "It looks like an island. The globe thinks it's the West Indies, about 1792. "It's worth checking out," said Wilma, "and I think Wilf and I should go. Our family came from the Caribbean." "We're all here on standby," said Chip, as Wilf and Wilma stepped into the portal. "Don't forget to call us if you need us. You got your links and zap traps?" "Yep, will do," grinned Wilf. He gave a salute as Tyler pressed the send key. Then he and Wilma disappeared. Being sucked back in time was not always an easy experience. As he slipped through time, Wilf heard voices chanting unfamiliar names. It gave him a strange feeling of dread in the pit of his stomach. Chapter 4. Once they stepped out of the portal, the heat hit them. It was a sticky heat filled with a moist, sweet, sickly smell. "It's like the smell of grass being cut, only much sweeter," said Wilf. Wilma was wearing a loose-fitting dress made of scratchy, coarse material. Wilf had canvas trousers and a rough shirt. They had no shoes on their feet. They were at the top of a low hill. Behind them was the sea. Out in the bay were 2 ships under full sail. A beach fringed with palm trees stretched below them. But in front of them was an astonishing sight. Fields of tall, leafy, stewed plants grew as far as the eye could see. "It's a sugar plantation," said Wilma. "Look, the sugar cane is being cut." A line of about 30 men were cutting the thick canes. They moved together, first cutting the stems low down, then turning to throw the canes behind them. 2 or 3 at a time, the canes were dragged away by women and older children and piled up. Other women and old men then stripped the leaves off the canes and loaded them into carts. "The canes go to a mill to be crushed," said Wilma. "They collect the juice and boil it in a huge cauldrons. That's what we can smell. It crystallizes into sugar. I read about it at school on the internet." One of the carts suddenly lurched and tipped over. The canes spilled out. The children pulling the cart flinched as a man ran up, shouting at them. The man, an overseer, struck the back of the biggest boy with a whip. "Take more care," he shouted. "Oh no, that's cruel," gasped Wilf. "This mission won't be easy. We don't even know what we're supposed to do." Wilma took out her link and called Tyler. His crackly voice came back. "This one beats me. I can't work out what interest the varmints have in sugar plantation." Suddenly, an ear-splitting sound like an explosion filled the air, followed by others. Boom, boom, boom. Splashes could be heard, then splintering wood and shouting men. "It's a sea battle," cried Wilma. "The biggest ship had caught the smaller one, and it's attacking it." At the sound of the battle, the slaves and overseers dropped what they were doing and raced over. Wilf and Wilma, who had hidden behind a bush, saw a chance to slip across and mingle with the plantation slaves. Wilf had one of the overseers say, "It's a British warship engaging a pirate ship." The battle was soon over. Flames rose from the pirate ship. Then a huge explosion ripped its side out and at once began to sink. Some pirates launched a boat and scrambled in. Others dived into the sea. An overseer cracked his whip. Another shouted at the slaves, "Right, the show's over. Now get back to work, double quick." Wilf and Wilma hurried down the hill with a group of children. One of them asked, "Who are you? You don't live here on this plantation. We ain't seen you before." "Will you help us?" replied Wilma. "See, we're runaways from a plantation on the other side of the island. Been living rough." "Beat you too much, did they?" said a tall girl. "Course we'll help you. Just work with us, but mind Mr. Rogers don't notice ya." Wilf and Wilma helped pull the freshly cut sugar canes away and pile them up. It was hot work, and Wilma felt the sweat running down her face. "Don't slow down," urged the tall girl. "You don't want to get beaten in this plantation as well, do you?" Then, to Wilma's relief, there was another interruption. 2 rough-looking men raced down the hill towards the plantation. Chasing them was a young midshipman and 2 naval marines carrying muskets. "Stop in the name of the king!" shouted the young officer. "Stop or we'll fire!" The men put their hands in the air and dropped to their knees before being seized by the marines. The young officer called out to the overseers, "We act in the name of His Majesty King George III. Our ship is HMS Nutmeg. These men are pirates that plunder British vessels. They will be taken to Kingston to be trialed. 1 more man has escaped. If he comes here, do not shelter him. You are to arrest him." The overseers cracked their whips again. "Excitement's over," one shouted. "Get back to work and make up for lost time." At last the day's toil was over. The slaves went to the huts where they lived. The tall girl, Melody, told everyone that Will and Wilma were on way to needed food and shelter. Wilma was tired and hungry, but she felt dreadful when she and Wilf was offered a wooden dish of rice with salt fish to eat. "It's hard for them to spare us food," she whispered to Wilf. "Eat it and be grateful." Then a loud moan and a woman's cries of pain could be heard. Wilf looked startled. "It's Mother," said Melody. "She's having a real hard time. Her baby has started, but baby ain't in no hurry to come." Chapter 5. A woman stepped out of the darkness and into the firelight. She was carrying a bag and a bundle of clean white rags. She spoke softly. "The overseers have sent for me. My name is Mercy Smith. I'm from the Wilmus plantation. I was sent for because I've delivered many babies. I think perhaps you need my help." "I glad you've come," said Melody's father. "This baby is putting up a fight." Wilma's link buzzed. She slipped into the darkness and flipped it open. It was Tyler. "I'm onto something, but I don't like it. Before he was killed, my father was a midshipman on a frigate called Nutmeg. He was in action in the West Indies around 1792. Wilma gasped. "This is so weird. HMS Nutmeg is in the bay. A midshipman came here earlier. It can't be your father, surely." Tyler gulped. "I need to ask Mortlock something," he said. "I'll get back to you." Suddenly, a hand grabbed Wilma's arm. Someone had crept on her out of the darkness. A stab of fear ran through her. Her hand went to a pocket for her zap-trap, but both arms were pinned to her side, and a hand was clamped over her mouth. "Hush," a voice said. "Don't make a sound. I'm the runaway slave who escaped the plantation life and became a pirate. Go and tell him Celeb Capstick needs help. Do it quietly. Don't get him excited. I'm a haunted man. The overseers would love to get me, and so would the British Navy." With her heart thumping, Wilma hurried back and told Melody's father. He and 2 other men went to where Wilma had encountered the pirate. They had to carry Caleb back, and he had been shot in the leg and had lost blood. The slaves were excited. They had heard of Caleb Capstick, the slave who escaped and became a very famous pirate. But Caleb told them, "You're in danger. If the overseers find out you've helped me, it'll be bad for all of you. All I need is a bandage for my bleeding leg and some food. I'll rest for a while and be gone before daybreak." Mercy Smith came to see what all the excitement was about. "The baby won't be long," she said. "Its poor mother has worn out with so much pushing." "Then you can help Clib now fixing his legs," said Melody's father. But the woman replied, "I got more important work to do. Fix it yourself." "What's going on?" Wolf whispered to Wilma. "We don't seem to be picking up any clues. Nobody we've seen so far looks a bit like a Byron." "I don't know either," replied Wilma. "Tyler thought he was onto something. It was to do with that ship that attacked the pirates, but he shut down the link." But then Melody's father stood up. "It is time to remember our roots. A story must never be forgotten, even if it's a long time ago. Your children must tell it with pride." The slave children stood up. Melody began. "Once our grandparents were free. They lived in Africa, but ruthless men captured them to sell them as slaves." A boy took up the story, speaking clearly, his eyes shining in the firelight. He told how the slaves were transported across the Atlantic, chained together below decks in cramped and filthy conditions, and how so many died on that terrible voyage. One by one, the children enchanted names: Abimola, Alabama, Dada, Errolly, of me. Wilma found it unbearably sad. They were the names of slaves who had died on the voyage. She looked at Wilf and saw that he had tears running down his cheeks. And at that instant, Wilma knew what the Viren's terrible plan was. Chapter 6. Then confusion. A voice roared, "Nobody move!" The young naval officer and his marines burst in with the overseers. "Where is Capstick?" he shouted. "We know you're hiding him." Wilma whispered urgently to Wilf. "The Virens are going to wipe Tyler out. This is what it's all about." "Wipe him out? I don't understand," said Wilf. "What's Tyler got to do with it?" "Tyler comes from the past, right? He thinks this midshipman will one day be his father. So if this officer is just a youngster now, new to the sea and not married, what if he's killed? If he's killed, Tyler could never have existed." "Oh my," gasped Wilf. Then Capstick leapt forward. There was a blur of movement and the flash of a knife as the pirate seized the midshipman and spun him round. Before anyone could move, the pirate had the knife pressed to the midshipman's throat. "He's the Viren!" cried Wilma. She hurled it up at Capstick. It flew into the darkness but did not open. Don't try anything," Capstick shouted. It's been nice meeting you, but I must decline the hospitality of King George. He backed away, using the midshipman as a shield, and melted into the darkness. One Marine raised his musket to his shoulder. No, gasped Wilma, thinking the man might be of iron. Will threw his zap trap. It sailed into the night, but did not activate. Then the midshipman came back. Are you all right, Mr. Collins? Asked one of the soldiers. I'm fine, but Capstick's gone, curse him. He let me go. Ran off into the sugar cane. Wilf and Wilma had the same thought. Tyler's name is Watts, said Wilma, but that man's name is Collins. So what do we do? So now what do we do? Chapter 7. The strange woman had walked in out of the night. She had come to help with the birth of a child, and everyone had believed her story. The truth hit Wilma like a thunderbolt. Mercy Smith, she cried. She's the Viren, don't you see, Wilf? It's you and me that the Viren's mean to wipe out. What if Melody's parents are our ancestors? Then the baby's our great-great-great-great-grandparent. If the baby doesn't survive, it'll be us who won't exist. If Mercy is the Viren, we've got to do something. But we lost our zap traps. What can we do? Said Wilf in panic. I don't know, but we can't do nothing. Come on. Wilma ran into the hut as the tiny cry of a baby could be heard. An old woman was helping Mercy. Wilma asked to see the baby. Mercy held it wrapped in a white cloth. She turned away, speaking softly. There is something wrong. I must... Wilma rushed at Mercy Smith, crashing into her and sending her off balance. Grab the baby, Wilf! Wilma yelled. In surprise, Mercy let the baby go. She gave a hiss of anger. Her face changed into one of the Viren's fury. Her eyes became reptile eyes, her hands a claw that grabbed something from her apron and threw it. The smother spear burst open. Swirls of blackness like tentacles would round Wilma and curl towards Wilf. There was a scream. A sound like an angry insect flew towards the Viren, a zap trap. In an instant, the Viren became a huge cold flame of crackling energy and was gone. The zap trap snapped shut and fell to the ground. The inky blackness evaporated. Flippin' egg, said Tyler. I've never seen a zap trap before. Will, looks like I arrived in the nick of time. Tyler was standing there with a pair of crutches. Mortlock won't let me camp, he explained, but I had to see my father. Wilf looked at the baby, gurgling happy in his arms. Meet my great-great-great-great-grandfather. This is who the Viren's after, not your dad. He handed the baby to the old woman. Melody and her father, along with the others, crowded into the hut to see the baby. Outside, Wilma saw the midshipman about to leave. Excuse me, he called. Is there an officer on your ship called Midshipman Watts? The officer gave Wilf, Wilma, and Tyler a suspicious look, but he told them that the previous year Midshipman Watts had been transferred to another ship called HMS Firefly. We'd better get back to the time vault, said Wilma. Report to Mortlock. See what he thinks of this latest move by the Virens. Yeah, Mortlock, he told me I wasn't to come, but I ignored him. So how did you send yourself? Asked Wilf once you were in the portal. Tyler gave a grin. Let's get back and I'll show you. So that's the end of this book. I hope you enjoyed my readings of it, and if you did, please click many likes and subscribe Reading Club. So I'll come back later with a new and improved book. Bye everybody, see you later.